Alright, so guys, I'm well aware it's been a while since my last upload. A bit of things have happened since last time. I've celebrated my birthday. A few days ago, July 15th, was technically the first anniversary of my YouTube channel. Although back then it was Sultan Alakazam, so if you're a new sub, you might not know that. But anyway, this video, the reason why I'm, getting it up around now, is just kind of fitting because around that time, a year ago, this was actually my very first idea for a top 10, but I didn't really know how to do top 10s back then. I kind of just forgot about it until, now. So anyway, let's start off. As currently we have regions based off Japan, America, and France. However, there are other countries I'd be interested in having regions made out of, just because of maybe they're in a diverse environment, or maybe something else, such as their culture or something. So here's my top 10. China. China's relatively low on this list just because it's too big to be a region. Well, at least so I think. Plus, besides pollution and many poison types, I don't think there'd be much else to say. I mean, true, the East Coast would be a good water type area, and the South could have more grass types. But most of the western part would just be rock and ground types, and the Himalaya area might actually have some ice types. Cuba. This country didn't cross my mind at first, but then I realized it could actually work a bit like Hoenn, in that there are a lot of water routes. Additionally, it would give the region a unique flair that we've never really seen in a previous region. For one, it seems like a very touristy region that could have several beachside hotels and the like. It could also have a fairly diverse set of Pokemon throughout the region. Madagascar. As I see it, Madagascar could be more or less as diverse as some safari zones, but on a regional scale. But it'd be a bit of a smaller region. But in terms of the actual region, I would imagine that, similar to Alola, it wouldn't have many large settlements. Rather, it would be more of a jungle, which should definitely be new for the Pokemon series, as we haven't really seen too many jungles in Pokemon. Just because Alola has an area called Lush Jungle, it doesn't really make it a jungle. It seemed more like a forest anyway. But I mean a jungle with wild cats and weird looking frogs. Those sorts of creatures. Iceland would definitely have some unique features like hot springs, and a good number of volcanoes. And it's been since Gen 5 since we've actually been in a volcano. Yes, there was Willow Park in Gen 7, but you're on the outside. I mean, going inside, like Mount Ember, Mount Chimney, Stark Mountain, and Reversal Mountain. Plus, there'd be many small ones, sort of like there's many mountainous areas in Sinnoh, just like these smaller caves, and then you have the really large Mount Coronet. Not only that, there's also all these icy places. Believe me, I know the thing of Iceland and Greenland, how they're misnamed, but Iceland, it still gets pretty cold up there, so it does get kind of icy. There's also grassy places as well, and they'd be diverse in the sort of, environment, so I think it'd be a good choice in that respect. Indonesia. So you might be thinking, how in the world would that work? Well, it might be as crazy as you think. For one, it could just be island hopping through the larger islands. As in, the 5 major islands of Indonesia: Java, Kalimantan, Sumatra, Papua, and Sulawesi. Which, by the way, I may have mispronounced some of them because I've never really heard some of these names before. Similar to, how Alola's island hopping worked, but maybe with gyms. Of course, it would be different from Alola in other regards, such as maybe you could surf or ride a Pokemon on water routes between the major islands. So you wouldn't take a boat. You might just be able to take the water route while surfing or something. I feel like while yes, there is a lot of water, people wouldn't complain if it wasn't one side of the region was almost entirely water, like Hoenn. You get what I mean? Sort of more evenly spread out, where it's you've made a water route between, each island, 1 or 2 water routes. So it's there's a little bit of water, but it's spread out through the game. So it's still about the same amount of water as in Hoenn, but you don't just have one huge part of the game is just water. Because that was one of the complaints about the Hoenn games, is just too much water, but I feel more specifically it was just, concentrated at one point in the game, just made people sick of the water. Besides the water and islands, though, we could end up having some mountains and jungles, which are also in Indonesia. Egypt. A region based on Egypt would be almost the anti-Kalos. It would have little to no grassy areas in a wide arid desert with much sand, having been a haven to many ground types. With the coast and Nile River being the main places to get water types, there would also be some grassy and oasis areas near the Nile, so it's possible there may be a variety of Pokemon near that area, usually around the watery area. The rest of the region would probably be desert land. Of course, the ancient pyramids and other monuments as such, you could have interesting dungeons with psychic and ghost types. Just the stereotypical European countries that might attach to Kalos to the southwest. That's really the main reason Italy is here. What could happen is the north could have many cities, including Venice, which would be like the next Pacific log town or Humalao city, whereas the south could be more deserted and more country-like with grasslands and plains, and a volcano that might represent Mount Vesuvius to have like fire types and rock types and that sort of stuff. Maybe we could even have a nod to the ancient Roman city of Pompeii, which would just be ruins that have a lot of items or something. That'd be pretty cool. The British Isles. Of course, I had to make out a region where my favorite PokeTubers hail from. The reason why I didn't just say like the UK is because I also think Ireland would make for a good addition to the game. Because Ireland, I've always sort of wanted to go to Ireland. I think it looks pretty cool. I know that Scotland has that sort of greenery as well, but Scotland's more so famous for the Highlands, which is where Snoop Dogg lives. Not really. Lastly, of course, would be an area of England, which would probably be where the starting place is, with London being the major capital of the region, obviously. To be honest, the history of this region, if you will, should involve something medieval or something, because that's pretty interesting, at least to me. I mean, I don't know how people from the UK feel about studying knights and that sort of stuff, but I, as an American, do, because our history is pretty short, modern, and boring. And quite frankly, knights are pretty interesting to study about. India. Yeah, so what if I'm Indian and I'm a little biased in putting my ancestral homeland up high on this list because of that? This is my top 10, not yours. Quite simply though, I am positive I'm not the only one calling for a region to be based off India. I mean, India is pretty diverse with all sorts of wildlife. It's not hard to see it becoming a region in a future game, because there's just so much diversity in real life India. You got jungles, you got marshes, you got mountains. The Himalayas could serve as some sort of test or victory road. There's the Thar Desert. You have coastlines. You have huge cities. They're very dense. Possibly developing like a lot of Indian cities in real life. So, you know, like instead of like in Kalos, Unova, and all these other regions where like the cities are like really futuristic, maybe they could be like more so like steampunk or something. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I like steampunk things. I don't know. I feel like you could have stuff like that, but the thing is it could also be sort of like a mix of like more modern but also more traditional, because you could have like ruins of old palaces and monuments and stuff like on the outskirts of cities and whatnot. Okay, maybe not palaces because that wouldn't make much sense on the outskirts. But you know what I mean, like there's gonna be like some remains in some parts of the cities and that sort of stuff. And then the Taj Mahal could serve as an important building used for whatever reason, such as something to do with the game's legendary or something, or be the Elite Four building, or something like that. Like, I mean, like, they made the Prism Tower, which is based off the Eiffel Tower, the place where the gym leader is. This choice will probably disappoint you, but I choose you, Turkey. No, not the animal. I mean, the country in both Europe and Asia. This country is, well, like India, a fairly diverse choice. I thought a Mediterranean country would be a strong choice for a region, so I considered Greece and Italy, in which Italy is on this list, but Turkey could also function with many water routes, plateaus, plains, mountains, as well as jagged cliffs on the coast. Some special areas could be the capital, a city based on real life Istanbul. I know Istanbul isn't the capital of Turkey, but I mean it's the largest city, and it's one of the largest cities in the world, really. And perhaps an area based off Cappadocia, which is, for all of you out there who don't know, because there's probably a lot of you who don't know this, but Cappadocia is like this touristy area in Turkey that's like more so out in the country area, but it's almost like a city made out of stones from what I understand. And so it's made from very unusual geographical circumstances and that sort of stuff. And I think it would look really cool. So you could have something like that as like some sort of place, and you could probably find, of course, rock types because it's so rocky there. That is my top 10 choices for places for new Pokemon regions to be based off of. And I'd like to hear your ideas of the regions you guys have in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, feel free to drop a like, sub to join the Ottoman Empire if you haven't, and maybe share this with someone. Also, if you have suggestions, leave them. I can't guarantee I'll use your idea, but if I think it's a good and doable one, I'll probably make it. That's all for now. I will see you Ottomans later.